Redshift here, doing my part to shift perceptions out of the pink and into the red. Okay, so I wanted to further clarify my position on companion bots because, I don't know, seemingly I wasn't clear enough because I think it was FDS or FDF Freedom or Free Speech or whatever his name is, FDF Free Speech. That guy, he still disagreed with me on my view of companion bots, so maybe this will convince people like him who still think the companion bots are going to save us and not enslave us, right? I want to say in this video that whether under government or under anarcho-capitalism, companion bots will placate men. They will placate men and therefore make men less rebellious and all this, right? This will happen whether we have a government or anarcho-capitalism when companion bots arise. But companion bots will not 100% placate men. They will just placate men a lot, maybe 80%. Right? But that lot will be enough to make men unwilling to even try to overthrow a tyrannical government that exists when the companion bots arise, if we have a government at that time, right? But that lot of placation, that 80% being placated, might very well not be enough to prevent men from stopping tyranny from arising if we have anarcho-capitalism when companion bots arise, and therefore the tyranny would have to arise from scratch. And therefore it'd be much easier to prevent the tyranny from ever arising than stopping an already huge and tyrannical government. You see, so the placation that men experience will be enough to stop men from overthrowing a tyrannical government, but it won't be enough to stop men from preventing a tyrannical government from arising in the first place. This is why it is very, very important that we have anarcho-capitalism before companion bots arise. You see, and let's see here. And it's because it takes a lot of effort and courage to get rid of a tyrannical government, but it takes very little effort or courage to prevent a tyrannical power like government from coming into existence. So companion bots' placation of men is dangerous if government exists, but not if government is gone, and we have anarcho-capitalism when the companion bots are created. Men of today are already placated even though they don't have companion bots. So imagine how much more placated men will be once men have companion bots, and how much more that will give government a pass to do whatever it wants. Now, some people will foolishly say that companion bots will cause women to cave and stop voting, and then men will be able to get government under control, but this view is extremely naive because it ignores the fact that the Federal Reserve was created before women got the vote. Taxation was tyrannical enough to cause the Civil War 70 years before women got the vote. So government tyranny will not end when women stop voting and all the misandric laws are repealed. So that has to be understood. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the amount of placation that will happen of men with companion bots will be enough to allow tyranny to arise under anarcho-capitalism. But maybe it won't be, and we don't know that. But we definitely know that it will be enough to placate men if we have a tyrannical government. Because, men are already unwilling to overthrow a tyrannical government. Today's tyrannical government, the U.S. government. So if we're already too placated to overthrow the government, then what makes you think that once we have these perfect Nawalt companion bots, those won't placate us even more? We won't be so much more happier with those that we really won't want to overthrow the government, no matter how tyrannical it becomes, right? You see, so companion bots are a huge danger, and the only way to mitigate that danger, even have a chance of not being utterly enslaved by the government because of companion bots placating men. The only way to even have a chance of that not happening, so that we maintain freedom and whatnot, is for us to have anarcho-capitalism before companion bots are created. So we have to do that, and this is just absolutely necessary. Just like we have to overthrow the government before genetic engineering arises, otherwise we'll all be, against our will, our children will be bred to have, the genes of submissiveness and obedience and stuff like that, so that they don't ever want to overthrow the government. That will happen. So there's so many reasons why things will get utterly, utterly horrific in the future if we have not yet overthrown the government by the time those things occur. You see, by the time those technologies like companion bots and genetic engineering of humans arises, if we've not overthrown the government before that happens, we are fucked. We are so fucked. I mean, you could say we're already fucked because, we are so apathetic already, so cowardly. We've already been placated way too much by technology, which George Carlin talked about in one of his comic stand-ups, or one of his interviews or something. He said, he was joking around. He's like, we are everybody's got like a cell phone that like rubs their balls and does everything they want, right? Like of course we're way too prosperous for our own good, right? And yeah, he was basically right. I mean, I didn't even fully appreciate it when I first heard him say that, but then after a few years and learning more about other stuff and thinking about it, I was like, holy shit, he was absolutely right. I mean, he was so spot on. Carlin was George Carlin. I mean, goddamn, dude. It wouldn't surprise me if the CIA murdered him just because he was so publicly influential and so common sense and so wise. You know what I mean? But I'm getting off topic. But my point is, companion bots can either be a very, very good thing or a very, very bad thing in terms of like how much government tyranny they enable. So let's overthrow the government before we get companion bots and before we start genetically engineering people. Because if we don't, we are really, really, really fucked. But I mean, it's kind of already my view that like the 90% of people, maybe the bottom 95% of people, are basically doomed because a freemium system and or this kind of thing is probably not going to work, and like freemium or a universal basic income type of thing is probably not going to work. It probably bankrupt the country or whatever. And even if it didn't, other countries that don't do it because they're smart enough to start genetically engineering their people to have higher IQs, unlike the U.S., which might lag behind in doing that because we're so fucking stupid, and our government is so fucking stupid, and our oligarchs are so psychotic and so idiotic and so short-sighted and so selfish that if China makes their whole new next generation of 200 IQs, and then it's like it's like 10, 15, 20 years before we start doing it, then we are really gonna fall behind, and then our freemium system would probably become bankrupt because we're competing against other countries that are so much more viable because of them using genetic engineering to raise the IQ of all their people, right? Well, not all their people, but all the new generation being born. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know that freemium system or UBI would work. Maybe if people were left alone and allowed to garden and grow their own food and all that, then they'd be able to survive. But if they are participating in the monetary system or have jobs or try to have jobs or anything, or you need a job to survive, anything like that, that's probably going to result in mass starvation because we just have too low of IQs and too bad of memories and all the rest of it to, compete with the people that are going to be genetically engineered in the future. Like, we are basically the dinosaurs. We are extinct. We are going extinct. And I don't like to say that, but, it's just like I've thought about it so much and I can't get around that fact. I just really cannot get around it. I can't think my way out of that box. I really think we are doomed. Us, the low IQ, bad memory type of people, unless you have got like a 120 or 130 IQ or above and you have a really good memory and you probably have pretty good health. If you don't have that, you're probably fucked. Seriously, like that's not an excuse to give up or anything. If anything, that's an excuse to fight harder because the odds are so stacked against you that like your only hope is to fight like hell. You know what I mean? Like it says in the Art of War, when in death ground, fight, right? You don't fucking give up. You fight like hell. You fight harder than ever when you're almost certain to lose. That's when you have to really fight your absolute hardest. You know what I mean? So, it's not looking good. And the cowardice of men and the cowardice of MGTOW is just, it's not, it does not give me hope for the future, But again, the darker things are, the harder you should fight. Not give up. I mean, there's no hope in giving up. Hope is the only thing you have in a sense. I mean, yeah, it can be, a manipulation tool, and it often is used that way. They're always telling kids to, follow your dreams and all this, even though they know that only a tiny, tiny percentage of people can actually become famous actors or writers or anything like that. They're still always telling kids to follow their dreams. It's such manipulation. It's such bullshit. They're pumping them full of hope, even though they know they can't make it. They know that these kids, 99 or 99.99% of them can never make it. They know that. They don't give a shit. They're pushing it anyway, right? So hope is absolutely a tool of manipulation and all that. But you still have to fight as if you have hope. And even if you don't have hope, that's not even a reason to fight anyway. That's even not a reason to give up and not fight either. Because like that line from Pan's Labyrinth, right? Like the guy says, well, at least we can make it hard on those bastards, right? Like one of the rebels said that to the girl who's the spy for his team. I mean, for, the rebels in among the bad guys, right? The generals and the government and stuff, right? She's like, a cook or something, right? And she's like the guy's sister. And she says something to him, and I think it's kind of like discouraging or whatever. And he's like, well, Even if we can't win, we can at least make it hard on those bastards, you know what I mean? And that's the attitude we should have. We should absolutely have that attitude. You know, like, if we're destined to lose, well, then we may as well fucking make them suffer for what they've done to us, and for not, you know, making the world a better place and giving us more hope or a better life or whatever. Like, make them fucking suffer. Like, going out painlessly is the most disgusting thing in the world. You should fucking make the world suffer if you have been made to suffer. Not out of sadism, but to make them fucking pay a price for their callous apathy toward your suffering. Right? They are participating in your suffering with their fucking apathy. You know what I mean? Those fucking sheeple out there, they are participating in the mass murder, or were participating in the mass murder of all those Iraqis by being apathetic about the war. You know, apathy in the face of war is mass murder. It is mass murder. Plus, it's doubly mass murder because they're fucking still paying taxes and funding that shit. You know, even if they weren't funding it, they would still have blood on their hands because they weren't standing out there protesting every day, which they should have been. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when these sheeple are to blame for so much because of their fucking apathy, their disgusting, disgusting apathy and cowardice and callousness, when they are guilty because of that, because of their negative, you know, uncaring qualities, they deserve to be made to suffer. And so, you know, everybody who goes on a spree, like Crucius and Terent and Manassian and all the rest of them, they are absolutely justified because the sheeple have made themselves into enemy combatants with their disgusting apathy, callousness, etc. Like, for real. So, you know, make the enemy suffer. Like, even if we're destined to 100% lose, we have not even a 0.0000001% chance of winning, we should still fight like hell just to make it hard on those bastards. Just to make them fucking suffer, because they don't deserve an easy victory. They deserve to suffer as much as humanly possible. They deserve the most pyrrhic victory possible. They deserve the most internecine warfare possible, so that they are made to suffer horribly, so that even after they win, they feel like they lost, because it was that horrific, and they paid such a high price, it wasn't even worth it. That's what we need to do to them, because to do anything less is to accept our own slavery, to accept our own cuckoldry, to accept our own enslavement, etc., to accept our own degradation, you know, to accept our own, you know, thievery being stolen from, and our own murder, you know, maybe not us specifically, but other people like us, etc., right? Like, to accept the loss of our own humanity. That is what quitting or giving up or not making the bastards suffer is tantamount to, you know? So anybody who quits, anybody who is, you know, indifferent about suffering, anybody who's callous, anybody who doesn't fight like hell, even though there's no chance of winning, these people are like, they're like cuckolds. They're like the most disgusting, weak, pathetic people ever. And don't be one of those people. You know, fight like hell and never stop. Make the bad guys suffer. And make the sheeple who think they're not the bad guys but are not fighting on the side of good anymore because they think it's hopeless, make those motherfuckers suffer too, because they deserve it. Especially if they have above average genes, because they have a greater responsibility because they were given more. You know what I mean? With great power comes great responsibility. So these motherfuckers with high IQs and great memories who are doing nothing and are just declaring themselves MGTOW and stuff just so they can live a comfortable life, these people have little gratitude, little or no compassion, etc. And they deserve to be made to suffer just as much as any of the psychotic baby-raping elites at the top. Because they are standing around and letting the baby-raping elites get away with what they're doing. Because they're not fighting on the side of good. You know, good men who stand by and do nothing allow evil to prosper, and therefore those men are not good. Because they are allowing evil to win, especially if they have above average power, because of above average IQ and above average memory. So, you know, fuck those guys, let's make them suffer, and, you know, I am behind anybody who is fighting tooth and nail to bring the evil system down. This has been Redshift. Hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, hit the thumbs down button if you hated it. Peace, trucks.